This land is all I know. We gonna make it somehow. We will bend like a bow and never break. Our fathers came here and they lived and died here, and we ain't moving nowhere. Make no mistake, 'cause we ain't giving up no mountain. We ain't giving up no tree. We ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one rice, not a blade of grass. We love the open country of the Rupununi and the Essequibo. Take time on it, though we may criticize it. This is our own, we love it, and we need to keep it. We have that right, so we ain't giving up no mountain. We ain't giving up no tree. We ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one rice, not a blade of grass. So we ain't giving up no mountains. We ain't giving up no tree. We ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one rice, not a blade of grass. We are a peaceful people. Struggle is we struggle, and we don't look for trouble. Just ask around. But when outside faces from foreign places talk about taking over, we ain't backing down. We ain't giving up no mountains. We ain't giving up no tree. We ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one rice, not a blade of grass. This land is all I know. We gonna make it somehow. We will bend like a bow and never break. Our fathers came here and they lived and died here, and we ain't moving nowhere. Make no mistake, 'cause we ain't giving up no mountain. We ain't giving up no tree. We ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one rice, not a blade of grass. We love the open country of the Rupununi and the Essequibo. Take time on it, though we may criticize it. This is our own, we love it, and we need to keep it. We have that right, so we ain't giving up no mountain. We ain't giving up no tree. We ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one rice, not a blade of grass. So we ain't giving up no mountains. We ain't giving up no tree. We ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one rice, not a blade of grass. We are a peaceful people. Struggle is we struggle, and we don't look for trouble. Just ask around. But when outside faces from foreign places talk about taking over, we ain't backing down. We ain't giving up no mountains, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one karage, not a blade of grass. This land is all I know. We gonna make it somehow. We will bend like a bow and never break. Our fathers came here, and they lived and died here, and we ain't moving nowhere. Make no mistake, 'cause we ain't giving up no mountain, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one karage, not a blade of grass. We love the open country of the Rupununi and the Essequibo. Take time on it, though we may criticize it. This is our home, we love it, and we need to keep it. We have that right, so we ain't giving up no mountain, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one karage, not a blade of grass. So we ain't giving up no mountains, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one karage, not a blade of grass.
Honorable members, please be seated. And I'd like to invite the Honorable Member, Ms. Natasha St. Louis, to make her presentation. Doctor, accreditations.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the speaker before us carried on with somebody who has a lot of years in this political arena. I expected a different presentation. For a seasoned politician, the presentation from last year to this year was really unbecoming of somebody with that amount of experience. The speaker before me, Dr. Frank Anthony, took time to tell the nation that the APNU-AFC government took 50 days to get drugs through the procurement system to the health centers. But sir, not so long ago, at a community outreach, we heard a medical professional bore her soul out to her commander-in-chief. For me, it wasn't just she didn't have drugs and she had to take her own money to buy stuff for the children and their parents in her community. It was the facility in which they work. They spoke about the washroom, they had to fetch water. And Mr. Speaker, I listened to that video a few times. It represents today the state of affairs that our public servants work in. Mr. Speaker, Dr. Frank Anthony spoke at length about the APNU AFC deliverables from 2015 to 2020. What he did not tell us was the period of 23 years in which we saw the Georgetown Public Hospital diminish from 600 and odd beds to 300 and something beds. They never got it right. But come here to lecture us. But I will let that mental outburst go for now. I don't think Dr. Byro Harry will make any sense with Frank, the honorable member, but I urge him as a colleague that outburst should be attended to. Mr. Speaker, I rise today to speak for the voiceless, children who cry in silence, for the women who live in fear, and for the elderly who await in despair, hoping for a better life before they die. I rise to add my voice in holding this government accountable for its atrocious failure to protect the most vulnerable among us. Despite receiving trillions of dollars in budgetary allocation since 2020, the PPP government has failed the people of Guyana year after year while enriching themselves. Mr. Speaker, I want to share an experience with you because you see, us on the other side, we don't have luxury offices, so we go out into the regions. I was in Port Kaituma, and I was talking with some fathers in the afternoon after we would have had our outreach. And when I said that the PPP government has failed the people of Guyana year after year, this is what I mean. It broke my heart in an after-meeting conversation with 3 fathers when they explained to me in Port Kaituma, in Region 1, they can only afford
Sabotage. Get the mace. Hold the mace, Mr. Speaker. But I'm coming for the mace then. Power shift, power shift. Go to the power shift.
Should I continue, sir? Okay. Please put my clock on hold. Thanks. but the bishop is here.
What is this?
Where is the Prime Minister? Prime Minister said we will.
We are a peaceful people. Struggle is we struggle, and we don't look for trouble. Just ask around. But when outside faces from foreign places talk about taking over, we ain't backing down. We ain't giving up no mountains. We ain't giving up no tree. We ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one caress, not a blade of grass. This land is all I know. We gonna make it somehow. We will bend like a bow and never break. Our fathers came here and they lived and died here, and we ain't moving nowhere. Make no mistake, 'cause we ain't giving up no mountain. We ain't giving up no tree. We ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one caress, not a blade of grass. We love the open country of the Rupununi and the Essequibo. Take time on it, though we may criticize it. This is our home, we love it, and we need to keep it. We have that right, so we ain't giving up no mountain. We ain't giving up no tree. We ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one caress, not a blade of grass. So we ain't giving up no mountains. We ain't giving up no tree. We ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one caress, not a blade of grass. We are a peaceful people. Struggle is we struggle, and we don't look for trouble. Just ask around. But when outside faces from foreign places talk about taking over, we ain't backing down. We ain't giving up no mountains. We ain't giving up no tree. We ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one caress, not a blade of grass. This land is all I know. We gonna make it somehow. We will bend like a bow and never break. Our fathers came here and they lived and died here, and we ain't moving nowhere. Make no mistake, 'cause we ain't giving up no mountain. We ain't giving up no tree. We ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one caress, not a blade of grass. We love the open country of the Rupununi and the Essequibo. Take time on it, though we may criticize it. This is our home, we love it, and we need to keep it. We have that right, so we ain't giving up no mountain. We ain't giving up no tree. We ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one caress, not a blade of grass. So we ain't giving up no mountains. We ain't giving up no tree. We ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one caress, not a blade of grass. We are a peaceful people. Struggle is with struggle, and we don't look for trouble. Just ask around. But when outside faces from foreign places talk about taking over, we ain't backing down. We ain't giving up no mountains, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one karage, not a blade of grass. This land is all I know. We gonna make it somehow. We will bend like a
It's booting up now. Yes. We're on. You will start at 7:52, Honorable MP. So that's 8 minutes. Went by. I will give you the signal when your time is up.
Thank you, Mr.
You
Speaker.
will start at 8:53. Sorry, 7:53.
Mr. Speaker, I was making the point before the blackout, and I got a little bit distracted because I was looking in the blackout for the Prime Minister, because he said that we will never have blackout again, and that the opposition members of Parliament are being untruthful in the National Assembly. And as God would have it, in the National Assembly, we got blackout and was disturbed. But he's not here, he's not here. He's missing in action. Not for a moment would I ever do that. But Mr. Speaker, I was making the point that the PPP government has failed the people of Guyana year after year while enriching themselves. And I wanted to share the experience of when I was in Port Kaituma early in 2024. And after the consultation, the community meeting, 3 fathers came up to me and they were discussing what's happening with them personally. Mr. Speaker, it broke my heart when one gentleman said to me, Ms. Lewis, we can only afford 1 meal per day, and we prefer to give the children dinner so they don't go to bed hungry. That is our state of poverty in this country, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this budget reflects a failure of good governance, and it prioritizes political survival over national well-being. It entrenches poverty, stifles growth, and risks destabilizing our society because our poor and working class are treated less than humans. Mr. Speaker, when I look at this budget, I'm thinking, this is not a fiscal policy. It is a clear case of a class warfare, a systematic betrayal of the poor to enrich the elites. Sir, after listening to Dr. Singh's presentation on January 17th, 2025, and reading the measures this government intends to implement to improve social services of this country, I was prompted to look at the performance of the sector. And I will tell the Guyanese people now how incompetent this government is as it relates to the implementation of the budgetary allocations for the Ministry of Human Services. Sir, last year, I didn't focus heavily on the performance of the sector. I gave a broader view of the budget itself. But this year, I felt like I should look more in depth in the sector. And last year, after my presentation, I was accosted outside on the corridors by Dr. Persaud, the Minister of Social Services. And in her exact words, she said to me, "Are you proud of yourself now?" In a very degrading manner. I felt threatened. And I didn't answer confirming what she said. But I want to say to Dr. Vindya Persaud that in the presence of the same two persons, I'll tell you today, I'm damn proud of myself. Let's look at what's happening with the first agency, the Child Protection in Guyana. Sir, the Ministry of Human Services and Social Security has been handed a golden mandate and a golden budget. In fact, several good budgets in the last 4 years to safeguard our people. Yet very often, this House hears reports of thousands of child abuse cases. More specifically, in 2024, sir, 4,032 cases of child abuse were reported, including unspeakable acts of sexual violence against our children. Mr. Speaker, can you imagine the situation of our children in this country with the largest budget ever, trillions of dollars, and our children on a large scale are being abused? How many of these children receive psychosocial support? Where are the national education campaigns to educate children and their parents on these crimes? Mr. Speaker, we on this side of the House recognize that socioeconomic and cultural drivers such as poverty and unemployment have direct correlations between abuse rates and economic hardship. In this case, Ghana has been fighting the high cost of living, and the poor people suffer tremendously. But what are the measures put in place to counter hardship in this country? Sir, this is one of the reasons why the opposition brought a motion to this House to discuss the high cost of living so that our children can be nurtured in a better environment and we would see less cases of abuse reported. Mr. Speaker, the lack of focus on strategy to protect and care for our children in poverty-stricken homes by this PPP government is a betrayal of our children. Sir, what can the Guyanese people expect? The motion to debate the high cost of living died a natural death. We didn't see it here. And so there were no collaboration with the opposition to put forward strategies on how to combat that high cost of living. Mr. Speaker, the nation's children were denied the opportunity of having a systematic approach to alleviating poverty in Guyana. But as a nation, we will wait the handouts, the Band-Aid solutions, because the PPP is accustomed to addressing problems with Band-Aids and not addressing the causes of the real problems. Sir, our children will continue to suffer, even as the Child Care and Protection Agency was created to protect our children from harm. Sir, under the PPP government's watch, child sexual abuse has become an epidemic that has no strategy to combat same. Mr. Speaker, one might wonder if I didn't read the budget books. Why am I saying this? I did read the budget books to look at the strategies, sir, the strategies set out. But let me share them and show you how incompetent this ministry operates, sir. They will provide rehabilitative services to children who are abused and their parents. Sir, that is a very reactive strategy. They cannot come up with proactive strategies. They will provide emergency care for children who are abused. Again, after the act, very reactive, sir. Mr. Speaker, what are the measures in place to protect our children? What measures are in place to ensure that the parents of these children are not frustrated because they can't provide financially for them? Sir, The social workers will tell you that majority of the 4,032 cases reported are children from homes of abject poverty, and that their success rate of taking care of the children is woeful. Sir, the ministry has confirmed it themselves. The number of children abused are 4,032, and that they were able to return to their families in 1 year, 88. Mr. Speaker, the number of children assessed and placed in alternative care is 217. Sir, what has happened to the 3,815 children? Incompetent, Minister Vindhya Persaud. Incompetence at its best. But I hope when you come up here to speak after me, you will tell us what is happening with those children. Sir, the minister has failed the children, and I will give her an F grade. Mr. Speaker, let me tell you how the Minister and Child Protection Agency are failing this country. And this one is very personal for me. A Muslim teenage girl, sorry I can't disclose her identity, but a social worker has the facts. A child from Region 3 but goes to school in Georgetown was sexually assaulted by a relative since November of 2024. When the matter came to light, because a social worker in her private capacity intervened, it was reported to the CPA, the Child Protection Agency, in Georgetown. To date, the parents are awaiting a response from the director of the Child Protection Agency on how the matter will be addressed. Mr. Speaker, it hurts me personally because I would know better than most of you in here that most of the Muslims in this country voted for a Muslim president since they believe they would be better off today, but the system has failed our people. The PPP has failed our children. Mr. Speaker, one may ask, but why not approach the minister so that she can intervene? It's a serious matter. Sir, I have written to the minister on several issues as recent as last few months, but to date, sir, I have not received as much as an acknowledgement. That is the level of incompetence and arrogance that leads the Ministry of Human Services. Sir, the minister says, Dr. Vindhya Persaud says, don't be dishonest. Dr. Vindhya Persaud, I wrote to you about Mr. Bristol, the senior citizen that was locked away in the house, number 50 Village Quarantine. Not a response till now, but I know you have taken action. You're just arrogant for not responding to the opposition members of parliament. I have written to you on the matter of Miss James, Leona James in Port Kaituma, who lives behind the airport. Not a response, but I know you know of the matter. Sir, let me put a wrap on the protection and care of our children by telling you of the feedback that I have received from 7 out of 10 regions in Guyana in relation to the child abuse issue, sir. The staff at Child Protection Agency said to me, Ms. Natasha, this is what happens when you employ your friends and family who have no idea and experience of the work. Sir, the advice is that the CPA, the Child Protection Agency, is understaffed, underfunded, and overwhelmed. But sir, I'm moving on. Let's take a look at the empowerment of women and girls. We are quite aware of the many cases where women are raped, beaten, and murdered. And today, only today, Bibi Fazi Ali of Annandale, East Coast, Demerara, was murdered after suffering years of abuse at the hands of her husband. We need to do better, sir. After the billions of dollars that this ministry received, sir, it is just disheartening. Mr. Speaker, more needs to be done to protect our women and children from this epidemic of violence in the home. Mr. Speaker, not so long ago, we passed in this House the Family Violence Bill. And I heard somebody talk about the training of the policemen and how competent they are and so on. But sir, we still need to do a lot more. The ministry now has to do its work. But what do we see? Incompetence. The minister, Mr. Speaker, it is important to empower our women to be self-sustaining with the hope of escaping the horror of abuse. I have heard in pretty much the same language the Minister of Human Services say the same thing. Why isn't she doing anything to help us, sir? So what are we doing to empower our women in Guyana? Sir, in the essence of time, I will choose only one program. As I said, I've taken a deeper look into the ministry's operations. One program to give the Guyanese people an idea of how incompetent this Ministry of Human Service and Social Protection is. And that program is the Women Innovation Investment Network program. Mr. Speaker, the Guyana Women's Leadership Institute spent a total of $185.5 million on this program. This sum was for the implementation of the Women's Innovation and Investment Network training program aimed at empowering women and girls. Mr. Speaker, at a minimum, and I am not exaggerating, this program was a disaster. It is a continuing disaster, and it's a failed project. Let me tell you how, because that seems to be a harsh statement, but it is facts. Let me tell you how and why, sir. From the start of the project, the design was flawed. I didn't say that, sir. The first people who said that is the Auditor General in their report. And sir, this year I have taken all of my research from the Parliament Library, so I don't have to hand over everything. It's right there. Mr. Speaker, from the time I saw Minister Vindhya Persaud in Region 1, Barometer, talking about the indigenous women will be able to learn a skill, gain employment, and they're doing a sewing program, the duration is 2 to 3 days. I knew that was a sham. But that was me bringing to bear my training and experience in the education sector. And maybe, Mr. Speaker, maybe I was being harsh, but listen to what the Auditor General report showed us. The report said, the design and implementation of the program could not have empowered underprivileged and single-parent women to gain employment or to start a small business to sustain themselves and their families. Why was this, Mr. Speaker, after $185.5 million? Isn't that incompetence, Mr. Speaker? But the minister will have to come here. I hope to God that she tells us what went wrong. This is because, Mr. Speaker, we are not involved in designing. Sorry, Mr. Speaker, this flaw was because key stakeholders were not involved in designing the program and participants were not checked on to receive feedback for critical decision making. So, Mr. Speaker, the bigger issue of consultation and partnering with people to make the policies and strategies better for Guyana is an inherent issue in the PPP. They have not consulted with the opposition on this budget, and they go on in their ministry and in their program. They will not consult with the key stakeholders to get value for money. We're seeing it evident here. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, training received by vulnerable women through the Institute may not be beneficial in allowing them to gain meaningful employment. From the get-go, the WIN program was a failure and continues to be a failure for the Ministry of Human Services. Mr. Speaker, the minister has failed the people, and by extension, the PPP government is a failed leadership for the Guyanese people. Mr. Speaker, let me give you context. The report said that the staff at the Institute strengthens. Mr. Speaker, the report said that the staff at the Institute strengths were not determined. No provision was made for monitoring and evaluation of personnel on the Institute organization structure, and key positions were not filled. It is clear the ministry is not interested in conducting evaluations and assessment to determine the needs of the Institute. These were necessary for the effective design and implementation of the WIN program. A simple task, Mr. Speaker, to employ people to do the job the ministry could not do. They failed the people of this country. They failed the vulnerable women of this country. Sir, during the period, and that is a 2 years period, 14,603 persons had applied to the program, and 2,571 of them were identified as the most vulnerable, and that group is the unemployed single parent. However, sir, only 410 of these women took part in the program. They actually participated in the program from applications of 14,663. And then reducing that to qualifying 2,571, only 410 women took part in this program. Sir, if we calculate the value per training, we have lost $185.5 million for nothing, sir. Mr. Speaker, as a result, 84% of the most vulnerable women are at risk of being left behind. I did not say that, Mr. Speaker. The Auditor General report says that, and it's there for everyone to see. Where is the Minister of Finance, Dr. Ashni Singh? Dr. Singh, did you know that? As a result of 84% of the most vulnerable women are at risk of being left behind. So when all of you over there come here to talk about how you represent the women and you're doing women's training and all of that, look at what Minister Persaud is doing at her ministry. 84% of the most vulnerable women are left behind. The Auditor General report says that. Mr. Speaker, the PPP government has failed in its commitment to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal, SDG 5, which is to achieve gender equality and empower all women and girls. The Guyana Women's Leadership, under the stewardship of Dr. Persaud, did not effectively implement the WIN program. That was evident as there were gaps in the monitoring evaluation process relating to the graduates. Perhaps Dr. Persaud should tell us whether follow-ups with the graduates to understand their progress and the challenges they face in advancing economically were conducted, because the Auditor General of 2023, the Auditor General report of 2023 said the ministry did none of that. Further, the report stated that there was no system in place to raise awareness of possible employment opportunities. Could you imagine that, Mr. Speaker? Even the database used to make informed decisions for the students had duplicate information, and in some cases, incomplete information. Mr. Speaker, the Human Services Minister gets an F grade on this project. Sadly, the taxpayers' money was squandered, $185.5 million. So it is clear that the minister has been hopping around this country only for photo opportunities because the programs are failing tremendously. Mr. Speaker, let me turn my attention to the senior citizens. Every month, our senior citizens, those who built this nation, are forced to stand for hours waiting for their pensions they earn through a lifetime of labor. All of us here would remember how our pensioners were treated badly just the other day. They came out before the sun was up and stood in the rain and then the hot sun not so long ago while they were asked to come out in person to register in Georgetown, where all of us drive around in Georgetown at the NIS office for the $100,000. Mr. Speaker, that was only one case that said publicly that the PPP government has no respect for our elders and they don't care. Mr. Suresh, this is merciless. When we talk about our senior citizens, to have them in that condition, the PPP is merciless. Mr. Speaker, my colleague spoke extensively on the $5,000 increase in old age pension, which compares to nothing in relation to the high cost of living. Sir, while in Region 6 at a community meeting, one resident said They're happy that the government has implemented a system for the pensions to go to the bank. And I was happy. Minister Indar Persaud, thank you very much. That was a really good initiative. Implementing the banking system for pensioners to receive their pension. But, Mr. Speaker, I know the PPP too well. They don't care for our senior citizen. And some sixth sense said to me, investigate this. It's too good to be true. Mr. Speaker, guess what I found? I came across a pension fraud audit dated 2023. And this is what the Honorable Indar Persaud and the PPP is really doing. In 2023, a special audit was being conducted into the receipts and distribution of old age pension, the public assistance books, and the tamper evidence holographic labels. We saw the minister make some statements in the media in relation to that whole story when it was discovered. And we'll come back to what she said. But according to the report, the ministry's application form, an approving officer signature is required for the pensioner to transition from coupons to bank payments. However, there were 73% of instances where the approving officer's signature was not evident on the application form for pensioners changing from coupons to bank. Mr. Speaker, I can't use the C word, but this is running, sir. It was run-ins that caused the Auditor General to do the report. Mr. Speaker, the fudgery gets worse and the run-ins gets harder. Listen to Mr. Speaker. The auditors asked for 40 specific files to investigate the old age pension fraud. And this one is sweet. 4 of the 40 files that the ministry supplied to the auditors that were requested were not submitted for audit scrutiny. However, the ministry submitted 4 other files that were not requested. What is that, Mr. Speaker? I can't use the C word, but it's fudgery. It's hard runnings, Mr. Speaker. I am restrained by your good office, and I will not use the C word. I don't know what it is if it's not corruption and fraud. What is it, sir? High level of fudgery and hard runnings going on at the Ministry of Human Services. The elderly will not get respect from this government. When you think they're doing something good, look deep into it. It's always about them. Mr. Speaker, the same report says that they have breached some of the store regulations. And sir, being somebody who spent a number of years in public service, I know when you breach the store regulation what that is all about. It says that the permanent secretary shall ensure that master and sectional inventories are kept and are properly maintained. However, a master inventory nor a sectional inventory was not presented for audit. As a result, it could not be determined whether all the assets of the ministry were properly accounted for by this ministry. What is that, Mr. Speaker? This is the ministry, and this is the history of the PPP, that one minister, Mr. Speaker, the audit report talks about the permanent secretary being accountable as the budget agency responsible. Mr. Speaker, this ministry changed 4 permanent secretaries in 1 term. That is a history in the PPP government. Never happened before. Where a ministry, Mr. Speaker, has a main store and a sub-store, we all know that all purchases shall be accounted for from the main store. Mr. Speaker, transfer to the sub-store shall, and the Auditor General went on to give advice on how the store should be run. However, audit checks reveal that the records at the ministry's main store do not include, sir, the main store. It says that the main store should have the inventory, and then you send out to the sub-store. We all know that. The ministry main store do not include items sent to the Hugo Chavez Center, the Palms Geriatric Home, the Sophia Training Center, and the Michael Children Home, where there are 4 sub-stores of the ministry. Mr. Speaker, that is fudgery and hard runnings, because the items don't meet to these places, they end up at somebody's shop. As a result,
Imputing a lot, please. imputing quite a bit.
Sorry, sir. As a result, the ministry is in breach of Section 45 of the store regulations. Mr. Speaker, how can all of this happen under one minister's watch in one term in office? In this regard, sir, an auditor examination, further, we move from the stores now.
Before you move on, you'll need an extension.
Thank you, Comrade Speaker. I move that the honourable member be given 5 minutes to conclude her presentation, hopefully without blackout.
Thank you, honourable member. You may continue.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, permit me to share one more instance of hard run-ins and forgery in this ministry. Let us look at another instance, sir. 56.5 million was allotted to purchase furniture and equipment on the 3 capital programs of the ministry. As of December 2023, the sum was expended. An examination of payment vouchers and other related documents presented for audit revealed that the ministry received the furniture and equipment valuing 42.97 million, not 55.9. The difference is 12.9, could not be verified since the payment vouchers and other supporting documents were not presented for audit examination. Mr. Speaker, that is hard run-ins at the ministry. Mr. Speaker, the minister needs to come up here and tell us where the furniture and the equipment is, because the audit report says that the furniture and the equipment were not in the stores and it could not be verified. This hard running's got to stop, Mr. Speaker. We got to know where the taxpayers' money going. Mr. Speaker, it is clear this minister has failed the people of Guyana. No wonder the staff themselves called for her resignation not so long ago. And so again, I will award her an F grade. Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Persaud spoke about the APNUAFC manifesto this morning. So let me remind her about her PPP manifesto of failed promises just before I close. Mr. Speaker, their manifesto said, expand child care programs and center countrywide and enhance the capacity of Child Care and Protection Agency. Honorable Minister, based on your track record of the center at Mahaika and that failed project where the contractor ran off with the mobilization of almost a quarter of the money and did not complete the program, I think that's a failed promise, because you can't do 1 child care center in 4 years. How would you do 9 in 10 months? Failed promise from the PPP. Mr. Speaker, they said that they will mainstream women's participation in governance. We're still waiting on that. Perhaps the minister can tell us about that. Failed promise. They said in their manifesto they will provide enhanced benefits for public assistance recipients. Failed promise. Instead, in Region 10, they knock off almost 50% of the recipients of public assistance from the program. Fail the people of Region 10. Bishop Edgil, Minister Persaud is failing the people of Region 10. Improve conditions for persons with special needs. Mr. Speaker, this is a failed promise. But let me remind Minister Persaud of the letter I wrote her. Ms. Leona James from Port Kaitumo behind the airport is begging for the disability grant. Mr. Speaker, I went to that relative's house because Leona doesn't have a house of her own. I took photographs. It was on social media. I wrote the minister almost begging for this indigenous woman to receive her disability grant. Perhaps after this, Leona will get her disability grant. But I know recently another member of the opposition wrote the minister, and the staff called this disabled woman and really was abusive. Mr. Speaker, I want to bring one more matter to bear before I close. Ms. Sarah Brown, honorable member, you're a young professional. you may have a future with the PPP. And I would like to advise you, as when you come to this house, come with facts. I want to refer to a statement you made in your budget speech where you said that the Honorable Ronald Cox don't go out into his constituency. Sarah Brown, honorable member, follow my social media and you will see that when I was in Region 1, Honorable Ronald Cox went with me to Matakai. He was with me in Port Kaituma. He was with me all around for a whole week in Mabaruma. The untruths will not take you anywhere. As a young professional, it would be in your best interest to be truthful when you come to this house. Mr. Speaker, in a minute, I just want to tell.
I've actually given you 3 minutes on the original and 2 minutes on this one.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Speaker. I will not be able to endorse this budget based on all that I have said, the failure and the incompetence of this ministry.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Now for the Honorable Minister of Human Services and Social Security, the Honorable Dr. Vinya Persaud.
Mr. Speaker, I stand here to thank my colleague, Minister Dr. Ashwini Kumar Singh, for his astute leadership and also to thank his diligent members of staff for presenting to us successive budgets that speak to the needs of the Guyanese people, navigating in a climate where we have seen global crises, we have seen geopolitical tension, and like those budgets, this budget helps us as a country to navigate that, cushioning the impact of the global crises that exist in the world around us. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank all the staff members of the Ministry of Finance and also the members of the Ministry of Human Services for the work that they have done towards Budget 2025. Mr. Speaker, to embrace one's legacy requires a level of maturity. And as I sat and I listened to the debates, I realized the opposition shied away from embracing their own legacy. Mr. Speaker, I will wholeheartedly embrace the legacy of the PPP Civic. But, Mr. Speaker, every time there was mention of 28 years, we heard that we should not go back to the past. But I have decided today, Mr. Speaker, to indulge them and to just deal with their 5 years. That's enough for me to tell you many things. Mr. Speaker, in 1992, it was an indisputable fact that we had a debt of $2 billion. It simply meant, unlike now in 2025, when a baby is born with $100,000 on his head, back then you were born with a debt of $3,000 US. Mr. Speaker, you are well aware of that. That is your legacy. Mr. Speaker, I just need to compare 5 with just about 4. And I say just about 4 because the biggest heist when it came to democracy, the epic heist that was done in full view of the country and the world was when an elections was the elections. We all know. I was standing there in the Ashman's building when the whole world saw what you did. Mr. Speaker, in any country, people will judge a government, as is their right, by the budget. It's a barometer of how they intend to deliver their manifesto promises. And that is exactly the people's right, because it speaks to a government's vision, competence, capacity, and capability. And I can easily say, and my colleagues have said it ad nauseum that the manifesto of the last government was not delivered whatsoever. You want to talk about an F grade? That's a big fat F grade. Mr. Speaker, I have become inured to the vitriol, the annual vitriol spewed against me every year by the honorable member who spoke before me. And maybe that is why that day I said, I hope you're proud of the way you delivered your statement. And so, Mr. Speaker, I can say that because when one spews vitriol, it also seeks to deflect intellectual bankruptcy, which has been so evident from that side of the House. Mr. Speaker, we have a budget that speaks to development of a country while at the same time focusing on all the people in all the regions of this country. Mr. Speaker, we have really in this budget incentivized hard work. In this budget, we have given the majority of the budget to the social services, notably health and education. Mr. Speaker, we're not in the habit of coming like a magician with a hat and pulling out outlandish promises. They got more bizarre as I listened to them today, as you promise what you will do when you come again, I don't know where, and going where. Actually, I do, right over there. But when it gets outlandish and bizarre, look back at what you didn't do in your 5 years in office. And I'll tell you what you didn't do. Because the 100 days that you speak of, the 100 days that you promised the people, there were many promises, and every one of them broken. Could the people of this country trust you? No. Should they trust you? No. Will they ever trust you? No. Because when you want to have a heist of a whole country, what would you not do? Mr. Speaker, if we look at when the APNU government was in office, Mr. Speaker, it was a dismal record of broken promises. And let me start with the senior citizens. I sat here and listened to the fact that this budget does not have anything for our senior citizens. We do not care about our senior citizens. Let me tell you, the budget is $58.5 billion. Mr. Speaker, $37 billion directly go to our old age pensioners. Now, Mr. Speaker, in addition to the $37 billion, all the other forms of assistance to senior citizens amount to $42 billion, which, if you add the public assistance benefits, over 80% of this $58.5 billion will be going directly to the most vulnerable populations in our country. That means that we care. I am not going to stand here with the temerity to tell any senior citizen that this is all that we will ever do, and this is the be-all and end-all. This government has consistently been escalating the pension, but not only that, looking at how our pensioners access their service. Mr. Speaker, it's an indisputable fact. In 100 days, the APNU government promised to double the budget. At that time, the total would be $26,000 if they did when they came into office. When they left office, it was $20,500. Compare that with the PPP Civic, who promised to double the pension, and in 2025, pensioners will get $41,000. Promise delivered. Mr. Speaker, the usual tendency is to beat out of the chamber after you would spew venom and vitriol. But I'm accustomed to that too. But Mr. Speaker, that would never let me lose my voice, because I've always, before becoming a minister, stood up for the people of this country. Mr. Speaker, I want to speak of access. When I came into this ministry, it was confusion and chaos. Let me tell you, all this love for people who are vulnerable. You know how much they increased the public assistance by? $600 in 2017. $800 in 2018. That's your legacy. That's your record. Embrace it. Mr. Speaker, I want to say to you very clearly as I stand here, when you come here and you peddle misinformation and you want to be very much a stranger to the truth must be told. Mr. Speaker, I have no apology to anyone. Whenever there is fraud, there is dishonesty, I call it out. I call the police in. So anything you know, it's probably me that made that report. And so when the books were found to be fraudulent, I called the police. Mr. Speaker, I have never shied away from improving and fixing issues. And that is what I did, starting from top to bottom of the Ministry of Human Services and Social Security. Today, pensioners have the opportunity to have their pension deposited directly to their bank. That is significant. Pensioners can access their pension through MMG. That is significant. Over 4,000 pensioners are making use of this. Pensioners can also now cash their vouchers every day of the month because we have introduced alternate venues. Mr. Speaker, there are over 1,500 of those alternate venues across this country, and that is what you call care, because no longer do you see those pensioners lining up to encash their old age pension as they used to. Mr. Speaker, I also want to say to you, pensioners are also receiving their pension via a very caring system started at this ministry called the shut-in delivery system, and over 3,500 old age pensioners receive their pension and any cash grant in their homes. And I want to say this, Mr. Speaker, because our officers go out into all of these areas and deliver that service, and I want to thank them very much. Mr. Speaker, I also want to speak of direct delivery. And our direct delivery system in this country would have included 148 communities, to which we have added 76 more communities in remote, rural, and hinterland areas. What have you done? Nothing. Mr. Speaker, when I think of what you have done, actually you've done something. Your tenure was considered the taxing reign of this country. Taxing reign. You tax man, beast, wheelchair, you tax pensioner, you tax... and then, you know, I was having a conversation not so long ago, you tax plants too. If you planted more than 3 or 4 plants, you had to pay tax. You remember that story of the Region 5 farmer? Look, when you come here and you speak in this house, don't erase what you think we have forgotten, because we haven't. And no one out there has not forgotten the taxation that you levied on them to such an extent they could not. And you know what? I'm not going to tell you what they think. This was in 2016. And this is what people said, and I am quoting from news outlets. Mr. Speaker, I can share this with you. This is what they said. You had just gone into office. I think the budget is ridiculous, and Mr. Jordan needs to leave, and all the rest of them who can't do something for the country and the people of this country. 2016, get out of office and give somebody else a chance. Time up. Mr. Speaker, further, in the 2016, so soon, yes, in the 2016 budget, the person further went on to say, another person, I think it's a rich people budget because the poorer class of people cannot afford it. When you have to pay water bill and light bill and for food and school things for your children, everything is VATed. They mean taxed. And Mr. Speaker, one of the first things this government did was to remove all the taxes that you put on people, and also to remove the new taxes that you put on people. You didn't spare pensioners from that. Mr. Speaker, pensioners were not spared. You love the senior citizens. Did you spare them? Oh, but you know what else you do? You did? You removed the subsidies on electricity and water. In the 2025 budget, we have $882 million directed to the electricity subsidy. We have $298 million directed to the water subsidy. For electricity, it's $30,000 per annum, and let me tell you, it's a vast difference from what you did. Oh, let me deal with that. Thank you, honorable member. Let me make a point on that, honorable member. Mr. Speaker, this was exactly the argument that they use. All the people are not benefiting. So you know what was the measure they introduced? Let me tell you, free driver's license renewal. How many pensioners are driving so that it benefits? That's what I'm telling you, intellectual bankruptcy. So you are saying 40,000 people benefiting. That's not enough. That's not good. But you are renewing driver's license for free with the what? With the thinking that every pensioner out there is driving. Mr. Speaker, you know what the people said in 2016? I am not too happy about the budget, especially the tax on water and electricity. Those are two main commodities that are used by the poor and every person. I would have liked to see the government a little bit cleaner and more like live up to their word of being accountable and transparent. I like to see the pay of policemen, teachers, and nurses. How can people subsist on that? Mr. Speaker, and I told you I was comparing 5 years plus the months that they held out as an illegitimate. Can I say that? Okay. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. 5 plus, 5 plus. And we have not even started our 5th year properly. And we have done much more than you have over this time. Mr. Speaker, when in 2018 they neglected the inflation that soared to 5.4% that year, and you know how much money the pensioners got? $1,000. $1,000. Mr. Speaker, when we, Mr. Speaker, I have told you quite clearly that this budget is continuing to give and to give. Mr. Speaker, we have also noticed that the numbers in the vulnerable population would have increased, which means more and more vulnerable persons are benefiting. What started as over 50,000 pensioners would have evolved to over 76,000 pensioners that we speak of right now. And it's not only the pension. All of the benefits accrue because under this government, pensioners would have received free testing and also subsidies towards their spectacles, tested spectacles, and over 70,000 pensioners would have benefited alone last year. This year, the government's introduction of the voucher for a health checkup speaks to our government's concern about the welfare, well-being, and health of pensioners. Mr. Speaker, in addition to all of this, $5 billion would have been spent on cash grants to our pensioners directly. Mr. Speaker, when people come here and they want to misrepresent and they want to distort and thwart and just fill a presentation that is filled with nothing of substance, with all of these other things, it speaks volumes about them. Is it really care for the people of this country? Mr. Speaker, I want to further say, recorded legacy is a powerful thing. And your legacy, the members on that side of the House, APNU, PNC, AFC, yes, all of the above. All of them. And you see, when you can change, what they say, you can change and change, but you can't change your spots and stripes. Well, we saw that. So legacy and recorded legacy is a very powerful thing. We speak of not caring for the pensioners. Where is your legacy of the programs that you have started for any pensioner out there? I can tell you of some. We have the Century Club that has been started for all those senior citizens who are over 100 years old, and they're just under 100 of them, and it's a beautiful thing to be able to celebrate their lives. We've also started a community program for senior citizens in their community, starting it in the village of Victoria, where I had the pleasure of going in the pouring rain, and this will allow our seniors to engage and also to be trained in things like digital literacy so that they can benefit from something introduced under this PPPC government, complete online applications for pension. So you see, it is not only going in to apply, you can do this from the comfort of your home. Mr. Speaker, the members on the other side of the House, you want to know public assistance. Public assistance is open to anyone in this country. Mr. Speaker, the number of persons receiving public assistance the numbers have more than doubled from where we started to where we are right now. Mr. Speaker, there is 133% increase in what we are doing for people with public assistance. And those persons who fall in the category of permanent disability, we have made access better. With a single application, they're on the permanent disability register and they qualify immediately for pension. So this is an unbroken support that this government is given to the people living with disabilities. What did you do? Nothing. Mr. Speaker, in addition to all of that, we have also started a supportive and assistive aids program, ensuring that people living with disabilities benefit from wheelchairs, walkers, white canes, free, all these things are free, hearing aids, because you know what, I came into government and saw people couldn't get a single wheelchair, and we're not getting a single wheelchair. In fact, the Ministry of Health is crafting prosthesis at a subsidized cost. And so when people want prosthesis, they're able to get heavily subsidized and one at a reasonable cost. Honorable Member Lawrence, it was difficult. I traveled the length and breadth of this country, and that is what I saw. You may have left something, but you left and two ministers came after you. So, Mr. Speaker, it really says a lot when people want to come here and to be, again, strangers to the truth. Mr. Speaker, the iCare program of the Ministry of Human Services continues to deliver free tested spectacles to pensioners, vulnerable populations, and persons with disability. Mr. Speaker, I want to say that our persons living with disabilities, for the first time, I have spoken to them. I have met with those persons who make up the Council of Disabilities, and coming out of those consultations and meetings, a series of things happen. This government expended $74 million to construct the Learning Lab, and that is part of a complex in the Mahaica community, and that Learning Lab every year extends free skills training to persons living with disability in all of the regions. We have exceeded our target every year. Mr. Speaker, we continue to ensure that those persons are not only trained, but they have the opportunity for employment and entrepreneurship, because it was under this government that a revolving fund was set up, and that revolving fund is open to all persons with disability. There is no interest to be paid, and we continue to see persons benefiting. Over 45 persons benefited from that fund last year, and we will continue to work with them this year. And what are those persons trained in? They're trained in anything from garment construction to agriculture to social media, marketing, using JAWS for those who are blind, and I suggest that you visit the Learning Lab before one comes here and spews misinformation. Mr. Speaker, it was under this PPPC government that over 5,000 persons benefited from wheelchairs alone. Mr. Speaker, if we look at the Mahaica complex, what is happening there? The members spoke about the residential facility for children. When that contractor could not finish the work, we terminated that contractor, as is the normal practice. We applied liquidated damages, as is the normal practice. But that complex will have the Learning Lab, which is a training facility and has been doing a lot of good work, a children's residential facility, brand new residential facilities for people living with disability. Mr. Speaker, they were in government for 5 years. Did they do any of that? No. Mr. Speaker, as we speak right now, $35,000 would have been continuing to be distributed as part of the government's one-off cash grant for persons living with disabilities. That's happening. And, Mr. Speaker, it follows on the heels of a $100,000 cash grant that would have been given to children. And from that exercise, for the first time in the country, we were able to develop a register of children living with disabilities. That register will now be utilized to see how we can help them in a very, very targeted way. Whether it's treatment they need, whether it's health care, whatever they need, we will be working with them. Mr. Speaker, this over this side doesn't have intellectual bankruptcy. Mr. Speaker, we are investing over $500 million to ensure people with disabilities have the opportunity, have equal opportunity, because we can speak of disparity, and we have set out on a very strategic direction to ensure that persons living with disabilities benefit equal to any other population in this country. We have been training persons through the same WIN program that was diminished, but go out there and tell the women whose lives have been transformed that WIN has done nothing for them. But Mr. Speaker, I want to use more or less an independent barometer of the work that Guyana has done when it comes to gender equality and improving the lives of women. When you can hear from the Ministry of Housing, 46% of those who received house lots were women. When you can hear on the Gold program, over 70% were women. When you can hear from the WIN program, every year we are training over thousands of women. To date, we have trained over 13,000 women. We have another 11,000 to train this year, and this is a hybrid model training. This is a very new program. And Mr. Speaker, when we train those women, it is not just training. They have the opportunity to be trained in business literacy, entrepreneurship, and we have seen in the earlier years, 48% of those persons would have either enjoyed employment or entrepreneurship. Mr. Speaker, when people try to diminish a program, they do not look at the real people behind those programs. The persons who work at the Ministry of Human Services and every day go out to deliver those programs. But no, you don't care. And the persons who benefit at the end of the day, and wherever I go across this country, I am met by a woman who says, here is my business card. I have started my business. And you know what? I'm going to invite all of you to the upcoming We Lift exhibition that started with 75 women-owned businesses. And in this year, we are targeting 350 women-owned businesses. Mr. Speaker, we have harnessed ICT and developed an app, a WIN app, which has been populated by over 1,000 women-owned businesses. That is what WIN has done. Mr. Speaker, I want to say very categorically, we have spared no effort to reduce the gender divide and gender disparity, from training thousands of persons through the Gender Affairs Bureau, from ensuring that the Gender Focal Point program continues, and from looking at gender-responsive budgeting, gender mainstreaming. This is all work that was being done by the ministry, but I wanted to tell you of that independent source. And I speak, Mr. Speaker, of the Global Gender Gap Index, which in 1 year saw Guyana move from a ranking of 53 to 35. Mr. Speaker, we got to be doing something right. And that's not me telling you. This is from the World Economic Forum. Mr. Speaker, I also want to recognize the work that is being done by BIT as well, and they are tackling gender stereotypes. Mr. Speaker, I do not need to come here and belittle anyone or diminish anyone. I can just speak of the work that has been done. Solid, tangible, impactful, consistent, continuous, like the PPP stands for. Progress, prosperity, people. And Mr. Speaker, it is this we need in this House. Not to sit here and descend into the gutter as we do, and to belittle the work that has been done. Walk around this country, take the blinkers off, look at what is happening with construction, look at what is happening around the country, look in your own neighborhoods. Honorable Mr. Speaker, through you, the Honorable Member Bishop Edgehill posted a lovely thing, and they walk on my road that I built, and they say we didn't do anything. Mr. Speaker, if we look at what women are having as opportunities available to them, an average woman, any woman in this country, will benefit from $100,000, the one-off cash grant. She will get the $55,000 because we care cash grant. If her child has a disability, she will get $35,000. She may benefit from public assistance. Her child may benefit from the school feeding program. Mr. Speaker, she will also be able to access free technical vocational training, free training through WIN, BIT, and anything else that she wants to. She is benefiting from what we restored. No VAT on electricity and water and healthcare and school supplies. Mr. Speaker, if you conservatively put that all together, you're looking at around $800,000 a year put in the pockets of women by the People's Progressive Party Civic. Mr. Speaker, we do not believe in handouts only. We believe in investing in people, and all the programs I speak of speak to that investment that we have been doing in people every year, Mr. Speaker. And we are seeing young women just taking those opportunities, whether you are in Region 1 or you are in Region 10 or somewhere in the middle between 5 and 6. Mr. Speaker, I did go to Barometer and I went to launch the WIN program, and after that sewing program, they were able to make hammocks. Can you make a hammock? Well, they were able to do it after the training program, through the WIN program. Barometer Region 1 was the place where WIN was launched. Mr. Speaker, let me turn my attention to gender-based violence. I think it's a tragedy when any woman or man loses their life to violence. I believe that with all my heart. But this is work that must be ongoing. And Mr. Speaker, the member spoke of 4,000 cases of child abuse reported. That is because we have a reporting system. In 2017, they had 3,000 cases. In 2018, they had more than 3,000 cases. What did you do? Nothing. In coming into this government, we have developed a comprehensive Guyana model. This was supported through the Spotlight Initiative, and here are the things we did. That's why people can report. We have a 24-hour toll-free hotline, 914. We have the Survivors Advocates Program, a survivor advocate in every region. We also have the Safe Voucher, the Survival Kit. We also have expanded our shelters across the region. We have developed the gender-based violence policy framework. We have developed the Guyana model to counter gender-based violence, which is recognized across this region as the best model from the Spotlight Initiative program. So much so that my counterparts from across this region, they have been asking me how we do it, and they would like to know what we are doing. And I'm very cautious when I mention statistics related to domestic violence, because nobody should lose their life. No one. No.
Honorable Minister, not to lose you, we would like to get you to continue.
Mr. Speaker, can I ask Minister Singh for the hour he has been promising everyone? Anyway, but back to gender-based violence. So, Mr. Speaker, the Family Violence Act was passed under this government. The Counter-Trafficking in Persons Act was passed under this government. Mr. Speaker, all the policies I speak of, reintegration, reunification, those are going to be done this year. And it speaks to children who are in abusive situations, and the thinking is that we don't want these children to be institutionalized forever. We want to ensure that they're with families, so our foster care program has expanded. We have also added to the landscape day, night care, early childhood facilities, first of its kind because it is complemented by early childhood development, speaking to a population of 0 to 3 years old, and that is new, that is innovative, and that will morph into where I want to see women take the opportunity, because we are going to subsidize them to set up their home-based care programs. Mr. Speaker, that is solid work. Mr. Speaker, the other thing is the collaboration between the Ministry of Human Services and the Ministry of Legal Affairs to develop a model, again, a novel model that my counterparts came to Guyana to see. And they looked at it and they marveled at what we would have done. The Hope and Justice Centers, one in Lusignan and the other in Virgin Ocean. And for the first time, a mobile service hub in Region 1. Mr. Speaker, what did they do? Zilch. Mr. Speaker, when we think of the social ills that we have and the social issues, we cannot ignore trafficking in persons. We have managed to maintain the Tier 1 status for 8 unbroken years, seeing more convictions, more in terms of restitution to be paid to victims, and that is because of the kind of work that we have been doing. We have been working with the Guyana Police Force, and the Cop Squad initiative would have seen over 50% of the Guyana Police Force trained to respond to cases of gender-based violence and child abuse. But we didn't stop there. Legal access, legal support. Government heavily subsidizes legal aid, as it does ChildLink and Blossom. And you were saying that there is no collaboration with anyone. For the first time, we have child advocacy centers in every region. I know you looked at me. In every region. And this is because we have continued to work to put all those things in place. The legal access to which I speak is called the Legal Pro Bono Initiative, and that was started a couple of years ago under this government, and it has been providing legal support to thousands of women at no cost, and that is a collaboration between the Guyana Bar Association and the Ministry of Human Services and Social Security. Mr. Speaker, let me tell you a little bit more. The manifesto promises of APNU in 2015 work closely with local, national, and international bodies to increase women's entrepreneurial activities. You didn't do it, but we did it through WIN. Advocate for lower interest rates at financial institutions for female-headed households and first-time owners. You didn't do it, but the PPPC did it. Mr. Speaker, I can continue just like that to tell you about more of the broken promises, more of their manifesto promises that were not delivered and that were not at all even touched in their time. Promote gender-friendly banking services, especially in the area of loans to women. PPPC did it. Implement a child tax credit program for employers. Budget 2025 does it. This is our legacy. You see why I want to embrace it and why you run from yours? Mr. Speaker, if the members on that side of the House they would not choose to support this budget, and I'm hearing that. These are the kinds of things that they're saying no to. Go out there and tell women, go out there and tell the children that you claim to love that you're not going to support this budget and starve them of the resources that they will get. Increase government-funded child care centers to support women. It's now at $50,000 under the Child Care and Protection Agency, and we are giving $100,000 to all women who start their own child care centers. This is the PPPC. Amend labor laws to incorporate flexi time, which permits women to work from home and promote part-time employment. You scoff at the 10-day worker program, but most of the persons employed there, honest work, women, done by the PPPC, not you, but you promised. Immediately implement at all police stations a special victims unit. And this is where you talked about handling crimes against women. Police stations have them, Minister Ben spoke about them, and Cop Squad was done, PPPC. Encourage women to enter non-traditional areas of employment, including auto mechanics, electrical repairs, carpentry. We have done it through women are building boats, women are driving heavy-duty machinery, and under the WIN program, the UK City and Guilds will produce women who will be adept in electrical installation, masonry, carpentry, and much, much more. We are doing it. We walk our talk. What do you do? Nothing. Mr. Speaker, there was another manifesto promise. Establish with the assistance, I think I need MP Singh, Suresh, to read this thing in his big voice. I'm going to try. Establish with the assistance from national and international agencies scholarships for disadvantaged women to pursue tertiary education, free UG in 2025. Empower and identify female police officers to support victims of violence, Cop Squad. None of these things are your programs. Mr. Speaker, I can go on and on and on, and I hope I'm still up for that hour that Minister Singh is so generously giving away. But I want to say, Mr. Speaker, the 2025 budget promises things that we are already doing and will continue to do. Inclusivity, equity, and empowerment. We have an opportunity to foster a society where citizens feel that their circumstances are being looked at, their needs are being met, and their aspirations and ambitions are being encouraged and nurtured, and that they are motivated to do more and be more as we continue on a rapid trajectory of development and growth in this country. And I must say, we are not just investing in numbers, Mr. Speaker. We are investing in lives, in futures, in people, in the very fabric of our nation. I thank again my colleague, Minister Ashni Singh, and I support Budget 2025. That's our legacy. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. And now for the Honorable Member, Mr. Richard Sinclair.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am very thing tonight to say that the APNU coalition's claim for consistency in lighting has been vindicated tonight. Blackout. Our Prime Minister, it's your portfolio. Mr. Speaker, I rise to share my thoughts on Budget 2025. We hear, as we do every year, that it is the biggest budget ever, but certainly no one can think it is the best. I would not hold back, Mr. Speaker. I will not bite my tongue when it comes to this ridiculous budget, Mr. Speaker. On the biggest budget, the most pressing issue of the day, Mr. Speaker, is virtually silent. The people of the region are angry and frustrated. They ask themselves if this is the best the PPP can offer. Mr. Speaker, how many times can we bemoan the cost of living crisis? And this is because the PPP finds it in their heart not to listen. In my region, Mr. Speaker, the price of basic items like bread is nearly twice the price of that in Georgetown. This is not news. The government knows that the interland area are faced with the brunt of inflation because of their location. Mr. Speaker, transportation costs could bring goods if we put some sort of voucher on the things that can take, like trucks and carts to carry goods in the region, it would certainly bring the prices down. Why has the government not seen it fit to provide vouchers, Mr. Speaker, for trucks or counter deliveries of food to bring the prices of these goods down? By targeting vehicles, Mr. Speaker, transportation and by targeting vehicles transporting food, Mr. Speaker, and providing them with access to low-cost fuel through voucher that can ensure at least citizens' basic needs are met. Mr. Speaker, the most vulnerable in our society are the ones who suffer dearly when food prices rise. Low-income, Mr. Speaker, low-income Guyanese do not have the luxury of excess resources to cushion the shock of high prices. They are only just getting by, Mr. Speaker. We have seen this government ignore the cost of living crisis, throwing straps at problems with a 5 million here and a 5 million there. Mr. Speaker, at least $20 million could be set aside to alleviate some of these high costs of living. Spending needs to be focused, Mr. Speaker, on low-income Guyanese. Even further, those in our hinterland communities must be given a priority. And I repeat, they must be given priority. On the other hand, Speaker, where the government does not provide direct cash, not the one that you give, it is a chaotic and demeaning situation, Mr. Speaker. I think many would agree that the PBB can't even do that. Share a little money here, share a little money there. Long lines, Mr. Speaker, have played the cash grant distributions in our region. And even in Georgetown, elderly people, Mr. Speaker, stand in long lines in rain and in sun to receive this grant, only to be told, Mr. Speaker, that their names are not on that list. Teachers, in addition to that, teachers also line up and are told they have to go to some other location to receive their checks. Mr. Speaker, I was happy when I heard that pensioners will be given their $100,000 grants, but some of us sitting in this National Assembly have not received theirs yet. Pensioners could have been given their monies, Mr. Speaker, at the same time when they are receiving their vouchers. Public servants too also, Mr. Speaker, could have been given their money in addition to their salary. This would have removed the necessity for long lines, Mr. Speaker. These lines that follow them to the bank. This, Mr. Speaker, the government is proud to say 90,000 people have received their checks. But through these measures, Mr. Speaker, nearly 150,000 could not have been paid. We make these proposals, Mr. Speaker, but the government stubbornly adheres to them. Mr. Speaker, let me be frank with you. This is common sense. If this government can't even give away a little money, and you could recall, Mr. Speaker, about 2 years ago, when we talk about the budget and this population, we uh, we propose to this government, Mr. Speaker, that every family could have received at least $1 million, and that's 2 years ago. Not even last year, but this year come up with a little cash grant. When it comes, when it comes to more complex issues, Mr. Speaker, the developing regional agriculture, this same agriculture minister, Mr. Speaker, just chucked off a truckload of plants to the play field at Madia, and people had a mad scramble. Nothing that was systematic or nothing that was properly planned. It took some officers in the region to just rush out and share some plans. That's the plan, Mr. Speaker. This Minister of Agriculture, Honorable Mr. Zulfikar, can think about agriculture in Region 8. Mr. Speaker, I think what could have been done is providing these farmers with a little fertilizer and what have you, so that they can grow crops and have to have some ease on the food crisis. Mr. Speaker, I want to raise another issue that is close to my heart. We must take education more seriously. Mr. Speaker, this government has been spending more and more with worse and worse results. How is it that CSEC maths pass rates have fallen from 50% under APNU AFC to 31% as we speak? Mr. Speaker, let me tell you why. This government has failed to put some more resources in the hands of competent teachers that can deliver the work. Mr. Speaker, and guess what they have done is just pull a few comrades here and there and promise them some allowance here and some allowance there. That's not what teachers need in Region 8. You need to increase their salary substantially. Mr. Speaker, paying teachers proper salary and give them the consistent training, this government can seem to be focusing only on building. I welcome schools, Mr. Speaker, but you build schools, but you don't put competent people there to work. Guyana, for the answered records, Mr. Speaker, can say how teachers are paid. Since 2024, Mr. Speaker, there were some questions that was asked of the Honorable Minister of Education, and I think we are still awaiting the receipt for some answers. Mr. Speaker, we still are awaiting the photocopies of the last set of answers that should be given to this National Assembly. Mr. Speaker, on page 105 of the 2025 budget speech, 5.3 under selected economic indicators, we see how every year from 2020, Mr. Speaker, to 2024 under the PPC, students' matriculation have declined. This is how the PV shows. This is how the PV shows of. This is how the PV shows of maladministration of the PV rule. Mr. Speaker, one only has to remember 2020, where there were 3 memos that were sent to teachers by the Ministry of Education to schools. Because why? They wanted to have a parade on the road, a street carnival. This is their emphasis rather than allowing the learners to be properly taught. Education must not merely be used for those on the coast, Mr. Speaker, but those in my region must also benefit. I am not against the construction of schools again, and I underscore, Mr. Speaker, I'm not against the construction of schools, but it must be not be at the expense of our learners. Mr. Speaker, let's pay the teachers proper salaries. Education must be equal across the board, Mr. Speaker, for both people on the coast and in the hinterlands. Mr. Speaker, I want to close on the issue of the development of new industries and jobs. We have the rainforest there. And I think, Mr. Speaker, we can invest some more money, about $50 million can be placed at the University of Guyana to encourage research into medicinal plants and other things that help medicinal plants, Mr. Speaker, from our rainforest. By investing in research development, by carrying out surveys and assessment, we can open up new opportunities to grow our economy. I believe in the University of Guyana, Mr. Speaker. We believe in the University of Guyana. And we also believe that $10 billion more could be put for research there. Well, I want to increase that from 50 to 10 billion. We need, Mr. Speaker, a budget that addresses cost of living, not just ignore it. We need, Mr. Speaker, a budget that focuses on both education and infrastructure. Mr. Speaker, this is not a good budget. Thankfully, this will be the last of the PPP's budget. Mr. Speaker, as the people's representative of Region 8, I can in no way, coupled with the fact too that I have not in receipt of my $100,000 grant, I can in no way support this budget unless that comes through. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member, Mr. Sinclair. And I, like you, plead for my 100,000. And I register right here. Honorable members, let us welcome the Honorable Member, Minister in the Ministry of Public Works, the Honorable Minister Deodat Indar.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I know this is as I said, the night is old, but I just want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to give my contributions on this budget of 2025 that is put forward by the PPPC government. Mr. Speaker, I sat for 4 days, from Friday to now, and I've heard almost everything about what this budget can do, and from the opposition side, what it didn't do. From Friday to the end of today. It's a couple more hours from midnight, my Paul. Maths is not hard. Starting from the opposition side was Ms. Jurita Finance. And Ms. Jurita Finance said something that really offended me, Mr. Speaker. It really offended me. You know, young people, I believe if you are a parliamentarian, you must do research and you must be able to bring facts to an argument. This is an honorable house, and persons debating should have some facts. I say that her presentation offended me for one single point. When she said about the small jobs and persons working in the hotels, the cleaners, and so on. Mr. Speaker, I know my colleague Unish Waldron answered it at length, but I wanted to put a personal side to it. Mr. Speaker, I came from 47 New Road, Villanoof. I was born and raised there. But my mother, who was a single parent, my father left when I was 2 years old, but my mother, who was a single parent, she was a TSU rank, but apart from that job, she did cleaning work. She was a housekeeper. She went and pressed people's clothes, cleaned their place, and cooked and pressed with dignity to take care of me and my other siblings. Today, I stand in this honorable house. I stand in this honorable house as a member of the President's Cabinet and as a member of the PPP side of the house to defend, and to defend people that work hard for a living, an honest living. It is an affront to all Guyanese who go and toil with their hands to make an honest living for persons that are supposed to be young, supposed to be respectful, to disrespect their hard work. That is not service. That is not service to Guyanese. That is disrespect to Guyanese. And I took umbrage to it. And I feel obligated to say that because my mother, rests her soul in peace, worked her bones to bring us up. Honestly. So I wanted to respond to that. But as I'm on that, I want to say that the honorable member after her was Mr. Duncan. And Mr. Duncan went on to say and speak about a whole host of things, including cash grant. And saying that the cash grant cannot be delivered. Mr. Speaker, $60 billion in this budget will go to 600,000 people. Every single Guyanese will get their money, and they will get that money from the People's Progressive Party civic government. It is not the APNU, not the hecklers over there who spend our GCCA money to travel and all kind of things. Not those people. It is the PPP who give and make sure to put provisions in the budget to give all Guyanese.
It is the taxpayers' money.
Mr. Speaker, it seems my comments in this very old aspect of the night is causing some shivers over there. They're quarreling a lot, Mr. Speaker. Please. Yeah. Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Member Duncan went on. He went on to say and talk about job losses and BPOs being closed down. I know that the Honorable Minister Singh in his closing will deal with that. But I want to say, when you're speaking about jobs in Guyana, it is the generation of jobs come from economic growth and expansion. This didn't happen under the APNU. What happened under the APNU is a different story. It is marked by people being fired day in, day out. Day in, day out. I say to you because the Honorable Member Jordan, who spoke about agriculture, he was talking all kind of thing about Guy Suku and Mr. Ramjatan about Guy Suku and firing and how, right sizing and all these things about Guy Suku. But they were the ones who put people out of work. Mr. Speaker, I want to share a story with you. Mr. Speaker, I want to share, and for all of the people who will listen and who will see this commentary. I walk every part of this country as humanly possible. I walk them. These 2 feet walk street by street and do work. I came across a woman in Zealot North. 2 years ago, I came across a woman in Zealot North. And I was talking to the lady, and her husband was sitting on the step. And I sat there with 2 of my colleagues in the blazing sun. We were walking to the house to house. And I sat there, and I saw the woman, and I was talking to her, and she wasn't paying me no mind. But what she was doing is cleaning shrimps, these white belly shrimps. So I decided to walk out of the house and come out of the yard. And then my colleague said, Minister, the woman is picking shrimps because that's her job. I said, you're joking. I walk back in. So I go and ask the lady, I said, Mama, is this what you do for a living? She said, yes. I said, your name? She said, Miss Kemraj. I said, how much of that you do? How much of that you do per day? So she had this butter bowl and she picked the shrimps and she said she's paid $100 to pick a butter bowl. I said, so how much of that you can do for a day? She said 14. So that is $1,400 she's working picking shrimps. So I said, is that your husband? She said, yes. I said, what does your husband do for work? She said, he don't work. I said, he don't work? She said, no. He was fired by Gaisuku. So when people come to this house and talk about closing and downsizing and right-sizing, those are the real stories. And that is not that lady's story. That story is cascaded across the country. Everywhere you go, you find stories like that of how they have destroyed people's lives. That is how they have destroyed people's lives. You can heckle as much as you want. You can heckle as much as you want, but the fact of the matter is that you destroy people's lives. Mr. Speaker, the other matter that I want to raise is the philosophy of Wales. Oh, you're sure about the Wales area. When you go into Wales, Mr. Speaker, a couple of years ago when you went into Wales, Wales was a ghost town. Wales was a ghost town. My people, let's try over there. A ghost town. Ghost town. The sugar estate is Mangalayan. Nothing happens there. Bush. Rat take over the fields. Nothing happened there. The PPP government came into power. Put a power plant over there. A power plant over there that you're costing every day. And now, when you go there to try to buy land, try to get waterfront, try to build anything you go there, the land price has gone up. You know why? Because of the philosophy. The philosophy of the people is that we bring investment into the areas where you all have abandoned. You have abandoned it and you have left it to rot. And it hurts when people speak about it. It hurts when people speak about it. Now, as they're talking blackout and they're heckling, let me get to that. That is the ultimate political football, Mr. Speaker. That is the political football. This morning, we were relegated and regaled by the Honorable Patterson. He's not here. Never here. When he speaks, he leaves. He wasn't here. So, Mr. Speaker, when they took office in 2015, a couple of months in, give them 2016, a full year. 1 full year in 2016. 1 full year in 2016. When you check the records of what we collected from GPL, when we went to GPL revenue at the time is $33 billion. The government that these fellas, these honorable members, the government owed GPL $13 billion of the $33 billion per annum. 1/3 of the money they can't pay GPL. They have left GPL with broken knees, all of them, and they sat there, broken knees. They have done nothing. Not one single feeder they built. Not one single feeder they built. One engine they put in. It worked for 6 months and it break the crankshaft. Nothing they've done. And they come in here and they accuse us. And they say, oh, the gas energy is not good. The power ship is not good. But you know what? We have built back the generation capacity to 269 megawatts of power. We pick it up with 99 megawatts. 99 megawatts. Left it to nothing. Next to nothing. They can't hear the truth. Once you see their behavior like that, Mr. Speaker, it hurting them because that is the fact. Mr. Speaker, from 2016 to 2020, fuel price was next to nothing. A barrel of oil went to $28. A bucket of KFC was more expensive than a barrel of oil under their tenure. For the whole 5 years in there, the average price they paid for a barrel of fuel is $53. $53. GPL was making reserves. You know what they did with the reserves? Nothing. You know what they did with the reserve? Nothing. What they did? They didn't even reduce the price to people. What they did is put VAT on it. Tax people more. Tax people more. We came into the government. Mr. Speaker. They can't handle it. They can't handle it. We came into the government. Fuel price went to $104. $104 a barrel of oil. 90 for every $100 GPL brings in, 91 cents goes into fuel. 91 cents. You have to run an entire company by 9 cents. How do you do that? How do you do that? You can't. You cannot do it. What we have done. Now, Mr. Speaker, this is what we are doing to fix the sector. They don't like it because we are doing the right thing. We are monetizing gas. We don't wait for the honorable holder to tell us that we need to monetize gas. We are building a 300 megawatts plant. We are building another 250 megawatts plant that's already out to tender. We don't wait on nobody to come and give us advice that they themselves need. You're telling me that we now need to monetize gas? Since we were in the opposition, we made sure that we put in the manifesto the monetization of gas. We have contracted a company to build a natural gas plant to feed the generation. And you are coming here now, this later will tell us about monetization of gas? Come on, man. Mr. Speaker, I find that the hero syndrome is coming back into the house. The hero syndrome. Thank you, Minister. The hero syndrome is coming back into the house. The hero syndrome is the fireman, light the place on fire, take the hose and try to out it down and call himself a hero in the process. I find that happening everywhere in the opposition. They did all of the worthlessness when they were in government and now coming here with fancy plans. Oh, we're going to fix this. We're going to fix that. We're going to come back to Isuku. Imagine, they are so bankrupt it is. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, they are bankrupt it is. Their government, Mr. Speaker, was marred. The APNU and AFC, and not forgetting that bunch, the AFC too, they are marred by bankruptness Friday. They don't have none. That is why a man could come now and say you want to start back at Suku. You have no new idea. That is like a dog trying to eat Baki vomit. Mr. Speaker. It's like a dog trying to eat Baki vomit. Listen, Mr. Speaker, their administration, some of them can't sit and take it, is marred by bullyism, regressiveness. It's marred by stagnation. You stifle growth. You stifle growth. You tax everything under the sun. You tax everything under the sun. Incompetence was the height of it under their management. It's not how much money you have. It's how you use the little that you have. It's how you use the little that you have. They were collecting $90 billion more in taxes and did nothing with it. You know what $90 billion could do, Mr. Speaker? $33 billion building 121 kilometers roads in the hinterland. $90 billion could have built 333 kilometers. You know what they did? Zero. And they sit there and think that they're some genius kid with all the answers in the corner. They think that we don't understand what they are about. What they are about, Mr. Speaker.
Minister, let me appeal to the House to give you an opportunity for me to hear you, because it's becoming very ruckus. You must be touching on a lot of nerves.
Mr. Speaker, for 4 days, I heard insipid, cantankerous presentations by those on the other side. For 4 days, I've heard it. And these are people who try to steal a whole country in front of the world. And they're telling you about democracy. They're telling you about honesty and truth. Those are the folks over there. Mr. Speaker, these, you call it miscreants and Kavakamites. That is what characterized the opposition. and they can't handle it. Well, you can't handle it when you tell them. They cannot. They are barefaced and brazen. They come here and they spread all kind of mistruth and they think this country got here goldfish. People with goldfish memory, by the time they flick up and flick down, the memory gone. But no, Guyanese people remember things. We have memories like elephant. We remember things, and we remember all them things we all do. And we're going to remind the population of everything that you all do to them. Every single thing you all do to them. Mr. Speaker, I remember in 2015, this is my personal experience. I had no time with politics. I was in the private sector. When they won the election in 2015, I go outside and I watch the sky, the place just get dark. Dark. Mr. Speaker, I can tell you, darkness stalked this land for 5 years. It was blighted. Mr. Speaker, I can tell you, it was so blighted that the fish didn't even bite. Ask the artisanal fishers. Ask the artisanal fishers if fish stopped biting hook. That is how blighted the place was under their government. And y'all come here and y'all tell us about what? Huh? Yeah? Mr. Speaker, they cannot handle it. They cannot handle it. Hold on. I'm coming for y'all last night. Mr. Speaker, I saw a TikTok video going around with the opposition, and they're saying, it started with my good friend, the chief whip. Did you see anything good in the budget? No, I didn't see anything good. You say, no, like children. They're like children with a toy plane. Mr. Speaker, it was so childish. So childish. Mr. Speaker, they are saying that you see nothing good in this budget. You have a tax base. You have a threshold moving out to 130,000 tax-free. 100,000 Guyanese of our walks of life gonna benefit from that, and you see nothing good? You ain't see nothing good? Mr. Patterson, Mr. Patterson was here on the mic. He was there this morning talking about he see nothing good neither. But the problem with he and the rest of them is that they always looking to London and going to Tokyo. That's the problem with them. They don't see right. And they have people like them who are the older folks over there leading that crew. Mr. Speaker, the boat is going in a direction, you know, but the captain sailing. All of them, Mr. Speaker, the entire opposition. Mr. Speaker, you know what lost me? Many years ago, you know what lost me? I'll tell you what lost me. When an entire government, the collective wisdom of an entire government looks children in the eye and say, I ain't giving you the money to buy your half a sack. I ain't giving you the money to buy the shoe, neither the crayon and the Crayola. The collective wisdom of an entire government. Imagine the value system. What are they going to do to we? What are they going to do to we, Mr. Speaker? You don't want it. But you know what? The People's Progressive Party put back the cash grant. It is now 50,000 plus 5,000, 55,000 for every child. Every child. And you know what? It's the people we will remember for it. And don't believe parents, don't forget y'all. Don't believe, because that money comes in. As I said, I don't sit down like the rest of them, like armchair generals, and hear reports. I'm on the ground, and people are telling me what I did to them. People are telling me what I did to them. Mr. Speaker, I heard somebody whispering something about cost of living and livable wage. My good friend Figueroa talk about livable wage. But what is a livable wage? I want to ask him. Is it $1 million? Is it a livable wage for somebody, Sherrod Duncan, sporting all the time all over the place? Is that what a livable wage is? A livable wage, you need to tell us what a livable wage is. Because what we have been doing all the time is putting money in the hands of people. We put money in people's hands. You all took it away. We put it in. Let's discuss the cost of living here. I am on the floor now. You all had your chance and you mess it up. Mr. Speaker, the cost of living is not a factor that is only internally influenced. And that is what they don't understand, or they choose not to understand. The United States of America just had elections. They had a big election. One of the biggest things to the central theme of the election was cost of living. So it's not like Guyana alone have it. It's every person, every country that is connected in this global trade suffer from it. What we have done is what matters. What we have done is what matters. We have changed the freight rate to make sure that it's pre-pandemic level, so that when a man bring in a good, if it's a bottle of water, whatever, it is taxed lower, so that it don't transfer into the hands of the consumer. And that is what these people don't understand. What we can do internally, we do. The agricultural sector put all kind of incentive in the hands of farmers to bring down their cost of production, so that it goes into the market. So those, like the honorable opposition leader, my friend Maipal, who went to Perica Market the other day, just to save face. Just to save face. You won't meet nobody in there, Leela. I was the man who went and, when was the fire at Perica, I was there in the fire with the people, helping them, help them build back their market, make sure that everything, all who had space, got back the space. Don't come here, feed the Honorable House Nancy Story. Don't come and feed no Nancy Story here. We deal with people, we know the people, and we walk on the ground with them. So cost of living, Mr. Speaker, if you look at how ships operate, most of the places that they come from is in the Far East, in places like Singapore, Taiwan, on the southern side of China, all of the ports there. They come through the Suez Canal. The Suez Canal had problems. Apart from the war in Ukraine and Russia, the Suez Canal had problems. The Panama Canal had drought. All the years that we were in government, they always had something internationally that disrupted global trade. And Guyana alone is not an island separated from the rest of the world. We are connected. The ships them went down the bottom of Africa, come up and go till the Netherlands, adding 9.5 days to the trip. 6,500 kilometers to the trip. It costs more. So when the goods land in any country that is going to, it will go up. And that is what these people don't understand, and they don't even check the research. They don't even check the research. Mr. Speaker, yeah? They don't know. Mr. Speaker, the Suez Canal, when it was blocked and they had all of them fighting down there, it affected 12% of global trade. 12%. You know what it is? Do you know what 12% of global trade is? Huh? Sherrod Canal. Mr. Speaker, I want to come to the gas to energy project. I want to come to the gas to energy project because I believe that the opposition, what they do is they accuse you of not doing anything, and when you do it or when you don't do it, they accuse you of non-action too. That is what they do. So an hour ago, a number of feeders went out in the country. A number of feeders went out in the country, but yet they may want to vote for the budget for the 88 billion for fix the problem. They don't want to vote for it to fix the problem, but they're costing your body blackout. They're costing your body blackout. But the very thing that you want the money to fix, they may want to vote for it. That is to show, I can't use the word hypocrisy, but the one-sidedness of them. The one-sidedness of them. They may want to vote for the money, but hey, you have to fix the problem. I don't know if the opposition think you just attached to wire and get to fix the problem. It don't work like that. You have to invest heavily, and that is what we're doing. Investing in transmission, new substation, new plants to fix the problem. And that is what they have never done. They couldn't comprehend the large, massive project of a gas to energy project. And that is why. So they don't understand it, so they cuss it. They don't understand it, so they cuss it. Mr. Speaker, I heard, and I have to respond to this because I was part of it. My brother from Region 2, the Honorable Holder, came to the mic and talked about, they will reform the oil and gas sector, and they will put in this and that and petroleum commission. Mr. Speaker, please check the records of this very parliament that a petroleum commission bill came from the APNU. It came from the APNU when the Honorable Trotman was minister then, but the document was a 28-page document that was the worst piece of legislation they ever put together on the face of the earth. It concentrated all of the power in the Minister of Natural Resources, making him a super minister. It was so bad of a legislation, they put it in select committee and left there and die in natural death. So you come here now like if Petroleum Commission is a new thing, but it was done and tried and tested by y'all and you could not get it done. You couldn't get it done. So, Mr. Speaker, the honorable member brought the matter like if it's some fresh idea, but they must check their own records and see what is in there. Because at the time, I was president of the Chamber of Commerce, and I went all over the country and tell everybody what the piece of legislation they put into the government, into the parliament, how bad it was. How bad it was. Mr. Speaker, I want to talk about another thing that the Honorable Patterson said. Oh, he's going to bring some London Ring kind of road, and he's going to introduce light rail, and he's going to introduce some township connecting this one to the other one. You know what bothers me about this? Is that he was the Minister of Public Infrastructure, and never once he said these things. Bishop, never once he said these things, public or in private. Never has he said anything. And Bishop Ejil, the honorable member, came and spoke at length about public works. But you know what? These days, the opposition whole strategy is to promise more and deliver less, or over-promise and under-deliver. That is what they're doing. So they come and they promise about light rail. We have been doing our options on light rail in our ministry a while now. We don't need the honorable member Patterson to come and do that. If he wants to build a road, we have built all of the roads already. There's nothing left for him to build. We built all the stellings. We don't build all the bridges, and the corporate car is the only one left. We already dealing with that. We don't build all of the airports that we're not taking care of. We're extending the current one. We extended because there's nothing for him to build. There's nothing for them to build. All of the school, we don't build all of them, and we're building more. The hospitals with Frank Anthony was here. All unbuilt. Where you going to come and promise people when we don't build it? All of the drainage and irrigation structure, agriculture's been building it.
Promise delivered.
There's nothing for them to promise. So you know what they're going to do? You know what they're going to do? Oh, you give 100 grand, we're going to give 400 grand. That is their promise people. And then they can't deliver it too, because they have a track record, a notorious track record for not delivering anything that they promise people. It's like a lying by friend. You know, Honorable Doctor say, you know, you got a lying by friend, promise you all the time I can't deliver nothing. That is what it is, akin to a lying by friend or girlfriend. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, I want to say that when a member as Mr. Patterson come, and I take umbrage to what he said, because it's like, you know, he's telling us that we ain't do no work. Mr. Speaker, let me tell you something. And I checked the records. Minister Singh put 4,000 roads completed in his speech. But when we add up the ones that are currently being done, plus the one that done by the Force Account Unit, it accounts to 8,208 roads. 8,208 roads. Everywhere since the dawn of this republic, we have never built that. We have never built that. And that, so when you say you're going to New Amsterdam for Bill Road, don't Bill. You go to Bartica, if you go to Baidarabo, Dark Point, if you go to the access road, to the airport, everything done Bill. You go to Maria, same thing. In Georgetown, Mr. Speaker, that they control the city council. They don't build no road. They don't put even a black cent into building road. Public Works that's got to do it. Public Works putting over $15 billion over the 4 years to build all them road in the city, all the connections, and them coming up. They have nothing to promise. We don't do all the work, and the country saw that. We don't do all of the work.
Lies.
Well, here now, if any Hindu, this year $53 billion in the budget for miscellaneous and urban roads, gonna get it done. So by the time you go to campaign, you're walking on a road that Minister Indar or Minister Ejil built. Right? And Annette Ferguson in the South Rumville, but you're walking on the road of the Force.
I have all right to walk anywhere and drive anywhere.
Honorable Minister, you'll need an extension. But let me cautious the Honorable Member, Ms. Ferguson. You know, she is now being, I don't know, unusually disruptive by putting on her microphone and shouting in it. And the next time I'll put her out. Not for tonight. when it matters on Friday. Don't apologize. Go ahead, Honorable Member, Ms. Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to ask for 5-minute extension for, to conclude his statement. Thank you.
Minister Indar, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. When they do that, my train of thought get cut. But never mind, I got more material to deal with them. Mr. Speaker, I heard from one of the members over there who claims to be a finance expert, giving out zombie mathematics, zombie finance in our speech. And I'll show you. So our country's indebtedness is about 5.993 billion US dollars. Mr. Speaker, for some it might seem like a lot, but that is not even a project in another country. It is not even one single project in a country. But what to say about this, and for everybody who are those who, conservative harpers that say, oh, we have $5.93 billion in debt. It is a fraction of our, what we call our GDP, our gross domestic product. In 2020, it was 47%. As at the end of 2024, as reported by the Minister of Finance, it is 24.3%. It is the lowest in the entire world, Mr. Speaker. And you know something, Mr. Speaker, you know what gets me? The opposition got belly. Colloquially, you start, they got belly for come to this parliament and find a fault about a debt. The GDP ratio, the lowest in the world, and still find something bad about it. They got belly. Either they got belly or they're playing stupid. Is stupid about what?
Show your belly, my pal.
Is stupid one of the words I can't use? Play.
Show your belly.
It's okay.
I say that the argument is stupid. Mr. Speaker, I want to say that in this budget, I have not gone through the sectors that I labor in with the Prime Minister, neither with Bishop Edghill in public works. I've not even touched that. I will spend all day going through those. But what I want to say, Mr. Speaker, is that the budget at a glance speaks about some measures. And these measures are there to stimulate certain parts of the economy, deal with certain strata of society that needs help. That we saw, we promised, and we are now delivering those. And for the opposition to say they may see nothing good, do you see anything? They say they don't see anything good in the part-time jobs. I know a lot of those people. I go on the road and see a lot of those women working hard to get their money. So they add to the income of the household, and they say they see nothing good about that. Thousands of people they're ridiculing, hard-earned monies that people work for. They see nothing good about that. Increasing the old age pension, they don't see nothing, Mr. Speaker. I work at Freedom House from time to time on a Thursday. The amount of folks that comes in there with issues about pension and talk about how they would like an extra money to deal with the thing. The government, our government, my government has doubled it. And they say they see nothing bad about that. There's nothing good about that. They say they see nothing good about it. Public assistance. Everywhere you go around the country, somebody always have some issues that puts them in the category that they qualify for public assistance. Look, we are now paying $22,000 to that. Benefiting over 40,000 people of all creed of life. And they say they can't see nothing good about that. I don't know if y'all can't see nothing good about things like that. They help the people that struggle to build this country with a hand and a foot. Something wrong with y'all. Something wrong with them if they can't see nothing good about that, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm telling you, it questions the value system. Now, all of the arguments that I heard from the opposition over the past 4 days, one would think might be the symptoms of flu. But if ever, by God, some walk of miracle that they find themselves in government, it will become a plague. It's no longer a flu. It will become a plague because the value system is just wrong. They don't connect to people. They don't connect to poor people. They can't empathize with people. They can't put their foot in the shoes in people's foot to understand the problem. That is why they could say that they may see nothing good in this budget. You foot in people's shoe. You can empathize with people, you can sympathize and say, you know, I'm sorry for you and so on, but you know something? You don't understand what people are going through. And that's the problem with them. It questions the value system and it makes them unworthy to govern a nation such as ours. Mr. Speaker, I want to say one last thing before I go. Listen, I'm on the floor. When you are on the floor, I allow you to speak. You don't have no thing over here. Mr. Speaker, I want to say one last thing before I leave this podium. And it's really the collective of everything that we have put together as measures, all of the provisions in every ministry. Every spend is surrounding people. Our business is people. It's to serve people. And everything, whether it's education, infrastructure, health, whatever circles, around it is people. And that is what this budget is delivering. It is delivering for people of every walk of life in every area of their life. That is what this budget is. And I want to thank the Honorable Minister Dr. Singh, who and the staff who labor to put this budget forward on behalf of the People's Progressive Party government, so that we may be able to continue the transformative work that we've been doing since 2020. God bless you. God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister Indar. And now for the Honorable Member, Mr. Vikash Ramkisu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sir, the most distinct and distinguished honor is now conferred onto me to make my contributions on Budget Debate 2025 under the theme a secure, prosperous and sustainable Guyana, presented by the Honorable Dr. Ashni Kumar Singh, Senior Minister with responsibilities of finance in the Office of the President. Sir, Guyana is indeed very proud of all the officers within the government, departments and ministries for the services they would have rendered for the preparations of this $1.382 billion budget. Mr. Speaker, before I make my substantive contributions to this debate, I wish to first thank you, sir, for the warm welcome you would have extended to myself and the Honorable Comrade Sarah Brown when we would have returned to this National Assembly. Sir, the entire Guyanese population knows, the world knows, that all the cases that the opposition brought before the courts of this country, they would have lost. There is no case, sir, that they brought against our government or our party and they won. Sir, Guyanese must know that these very people sitting in the opposition benches, they went to the Caribbean Court of Justice to determine on the issue as to whether 33 is greater than 32. Mr. Speaker, people who are proud of their past, they will never be ashamed of it. The opposition wants the people of this country, sir, to believe that the history of governance began only in 1992 or from 1992. Sir, the opposition, the PNC, pauperized this country, sir, and they ruled this country from 1964 to 1992. Sir, from 2011 to 2015, they had the majority in this National Assembly, and they stymied all the developmental projects that the government had at that time. And then again, from 2015 to 2020, they ruled the country again. And sir, that makes it a total, we know to come good over here, that makes it a total of 38 years. Sir, every year, every minute, every second, every hour that the People's Progressive Party Civic spent in government, we are proud of it. We can stand any time, any forum, anywhere in the world and defend our track record. We do not hide from it. When you speak over there from the opposition, when they speak, sir, They only want this country and the world to believe that governance started from 2015 or from 1992 rather. Sir, we do not run from our track record. Sir, as of 2025, our gross domestic product, as the Honorable Ashni Kumar Singh reported, is somewhere around 24.5 billion US dollars. And our national debt is around $7.6 billion, which, as the Honorable Member Indar said just now, that it will give us 24.5 percentage of GDP to debt ratio, which is indeed the lowest in the world. But when we are to reflect back at 1992, what we inherited, sir, a GDP of 374 million US dollars and a debt of 2.1 billion US dollars. That gives us, sir, the ratio at 900%. You come to this honorable house, members of the opposition, and you tell us and you try to lecture us about inflation. Go back to the records of the 90s, the 80s, the 60s, and the 70s, sir. The highest recorded inflation rate in this country is in 1991. By all conservative estimates, it was around, sir, 85%. And you come, the honorable members from this side, the opposition, to tell us about economy and managing of economy. Sir, the Honorable Christopher Jones asked us yesterday to present evidences of rigging of elections. Mr. Speaker, I am saying it's a matter and a question of fact, and we have the evidences here, sir. I can lay it over. Sir, 1968, 1973, 1985, they rigged the elections. The referendum, 1978, they rigged the referendum. And sir, here is a report from Telegram 1032 from the Embassy in Guyana to the Department of State dated 12th of July 1973. Subject, Guyana election forecast. It reads here, there are two concerns. One, the second one, and more important, there's a problem of rigging. There is a problem of rigging. It is being granted that the ruling People's National Congress will engage in various irregular practice such as ballot box switching and manipulation of postal and overseas voting. This here, sir, is evidence. Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Sonia Parag, this is the Human Rights Watch report. We can lay them over. Mr. Speaker, the former President of the United States of America, Jimmy Carter, noted in his book, Beyond the White House, that the most personal danger he felt after leaving the White House was in Guyana in 1992. When the PNC, sir, the opposition realized that they were losing the election, they unleashed mobs in Georgetown. It was youth Desmond Hoyt from the PNC, the leader, the opposition leader, the leader of the PNC, who said, slow fire, more fire. That was the opposition slogan. And they did not leave it as a slogan, sir. In 2020, sir, in 2020, sir, the attempt to rig the elections, and hear their excuse. Here, listen to the excuse, but you all in government. Sir, there is something called inchoate crimes. If you attempt to create a crime, it is a crime. And a crime is a crime. And they attempted to rig the election, sir, in the most transparent manner using bed sheets and spreadsheets. Bed sheets and spreadsheets they use, sir. And, sir, it must be noted that almost 100 countries across the world condemn them for their actions. Condemn them, sir. They chased, harassed, and intimidated the elections observers. The Carter Center, all the elections observers were chased out of this country. That is the record, and that is what we must remind the Guyanese people about. Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Christopher Jones, he asked about evidences. Now, sir, if he has evidence, any evidence, that they won the 2020 elections, it will be the statement of polls. Where are the SOPs of 2020, sir? We want to see them. Mr. Speaker, Abraham Lincoln once said, commitment is what transforms a promise into reality, and commitment defines character. Mr. Speaker, we had widespread consultation in this country, and we drafted our manifesto. And we went to the electorate in 2020, and on the basis of that manifesto, which reflects our commitment, the people of this country elected us. Sir, we are proud, after so many years, from 2020 to 2025, we are in government. We are proud of all our records. Everything that we planned, everything we committed, we have achieved them. We have served the people, and we can watch the people of this country with a straight eye and say that we tell you we will do this, and we are here, and we did it. Mr. Speaker, this is what defines the PPP, and it is the opposite that defines the members on the opposition. Sir, each one of our budget is aimed at fulfilling these promises. Sir, effective 2020, 1st of October, what we promised, we reversed all those draconian taxes and fees that they unleashed and imposed on the backs of the Guyanese people. We promised that, sir, and we delivered it. We promised the gold scholarship, we delivered it. We promised the house lots, we delivered it. We promised free University of Education, Guyana education, tuition fee, we delivered it, sir. Sir, the stories of people brings the message, because it is the people who have to elect the government. Mr. Speaker, a retrenched sugar worker of Wales, he lives in Friesland, and listen to his story. He said, Mr. Speaker, when the estates were closed, it was misery all over. People, they've been run helter-skelter. There were no jobs. There were no jobs. We had to stop our children out of the school. We had to take them out of the schools. They took away the cash grant. That is a fact. The cash grant was taken away. Mr. Speaker, we had to go to the courts. They said we got to go to the courts to get the severance, Mr. Speaker. And sir, that reflects the issues and the challenges, the difficulties that almost 28,000 Guyanese encountered in this country. Mr. Speaker, that person is now employed as a carpenter under the People's Progressive Party Civic Administration and is earning over $15,000 per day. Mr. Speaker, his wife is employed as a pathway worker, and she is now on the nursing assistant program, which will now increase her credit worth, which will now increase her ability to earn more money. That is the story of the people of this country, sir. Mr. Speaker, there was a single mother in the community I came from, Zeeburg. She went to the seawall and she dried shrimps, sir. She dried shrimps for 15 years. And 8 of her children have graduated from different universities across this world, sir. Mr. Speaker, I will tell you that one of those child is now serving as a parliamentary secretary in this government here, sir. The honorable member, Sherrod Juncan, boasts about his record at the University of Guyana, sir. I am saying that I did a Bachelor's of Law from the University of Guyana, and I can lay my certificate over anywhere in this world. I can post it and I can show the world that I had no fail grades. I had no fail grades. My GPA is 3.66. I want the honorable member. I came from a poor family, and I want any one of the honorable members to present their certificates before the Guyanese public to prove their credentials. I want you to do that as well, honorable member Ferguson. Mr. Speaker, in 2015, sir, in 2015, they erected massive billboards across the length and breadth of this country, promising jobs to the youths. Mr. Speaker, here it is, promising jobs to the youths of the people of this country. Sir, when confronted about the plans for job, Granger said, you go and sell plantain chip and cook-up rice, Mr. Speaker. That represents the ideology, that represents the vision that they have for the people of this country, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, this is 2025 and elections are around the corner. And so you know what will be popular now, sir, is that the opposition will come with a bunch of fake promises. They are on a rampage right now, sir, presenting fake promises to the people of this country, sir. And here are their fake promises. They're on it again, sir. What they said, they will give $50,000 as stipend to every student that studies at different universities and technical institutes, sir, and they're the very ones who removed the cash grant from the children of this country, Mr. Speaker. Sir, they are giving now, they're promising tax-free threshold of $400,000 and all sorts of promises you're all going back to again. Mr. Speaker, the opposition claims that successive budgets presented by this administration contains nothing transformational. It has nothing transformational. Well, sir, if their definition of transformational is this, Durban Park, if this is their definition of transformation, this is definition of transformation, sir, then I pity them, sir. I pity them, because this is their record. This is what they are proud of, sir. This is their legacy, and the Guyanese people must see and remember their legacy. They are telling the people of this country, sir, they are telling the people of this country that we did nothing or we are doing nothing, sir. Mr. Speaker, the Demerara Harborage will be toll-free. Will the people of Guyana not benefit from that? Mr. Speaker, the hospitals, the 6 state-of-the-art hospitals that will be built across the length and breadth of Guyana, will that not transform the health sector, sir? If that does not, then I don't know what will. Mr. Speaker, they speak about inflation. Ask them their strategy if they have any or they had any. Sir, they said and they promised again, listen to the promise, sir, cheap cooking gas. Here, cheap cooking gas. Ask them how they will deliver it to the Guyanese people. Sir, the gas, the energy project is the mechanism, is the way in which you can produce cheap cooking gas. You got to bring the gas to the shore, that's right. And in order for you to do that, sir, you have to have a project in mind. You're cussing the same project, and now you're going for that project. You're campaigning on that project. Mr. Speaker, the gas to energy project will slash Honorable Ferguson. It will slash the cooking gas and electricity by half. It will slash it by half, and it will put in the hands of the Guyanese people $138 million annually. Sir, the opposition also argues that the Mandela Avenue to Eccles 4-lane highway, the Hero Highway, Eccles to Great Diamond Interlink Road, the Great Diamond Extension 4-lane road, the Mahaika to Georgetown, Crane to Schoonard, and all the thousands of roads that we would have built or rehabilitated will bring no relief, no benefit to the people of this country. What an irrelevant, visionless opposition we have. Mr. Speaker.
A good time to take a motion for an extension for you.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to ask for the honourable member to be given 5 minutes to conclude his statement.
Go ahead.
Thank you very much, sir. The leader of the opposition said only one positive thing he heard in the budget, and that is the production of soybean and corn. Sir, naturally, we can only hear what we listened, and we can only know what we learn. Sir, if the opposition leader was not listening, it is not our fault. And sir, if he don't learn, then he will not know, and therefore he knows nothing about the budget. And he don't know that he don't know. And that is a tragedy of our country, sir. Mr. Speaker, the People's Progressive Party Civic has undertaken the expansion of the agriculture. This didn't happen by magic. So let's address the one thing that he heard. And it didn't happen by magic, because in 2024, 97.6 billion was allocated to the sector. And in this budget, 104 is allocated. We reversed all the charges, the DNI charges, pesticide taxes, all, you come name it, the fertilizer, everything we did. We had what is the PPP, private-public partnership in the sector, 12,000 acres planted soybean, 25,000 acres this year. That is how we work. It doesn't happen by magic. We work. This is how we work. We have very strong work ethics. Mr. Speaker, sir, when they were confronted on the agriculture sector, Granger said this is private business. So if it is private business, then it could not have happened this way. Mr. Speaker, one of the parliamentarians from the AFP and UAFC, I think it's Honorable Christopher Jones, He referred to the sugar workers as bloodsuckers. Mr. Speaker, sugar workers, like everyone else, toiled to build this nation. And we are proud of that. And let me tell you something, sir. They are accustomed to the principle of namak haram. They are accustomed to the principle of namak haram. When they were in government, you look back at the sugar levy from 1974 and look at all the successive budgets, the source of their funding, it came from the sugar levy. It came from the sugar levy. And honorable members on the opposite side of this house, this government, this people continue to support the sugar workers. They will continue to support the sugar workers and the industry to make it viable, because we cannot be ungrateful to the people who built this nation. No Guyanese who built this nation can any sensible government be ungrateful to them. Mr. Speaker, the opposition, they're coming and they're walking around skirting themselves as if they care for the people of this country. Mr. Speaker, they accuse us of drafting budgets for friends and families and favorites. Friends and families and favorites, sir. The $11 billion allocated for the pathway workers, the 11,286 pathway workers, yes, sir, we accept the acquisition. They are our friends, families, and favorites, and we have no apologies for that. Mr. Speaker, the budgetary sum of $13.4 billion, which seeks to abolish tuition from the universities of Guyana, in which 11,000 students will benefit, sir. Those students are our friends, favorites, and our family. Every Guyanese 18 years old and over will receive that 100,000 cash grant, sir. They are our friends, they are our families, and they are our favorite, and we are proud of that. Sir, could I remind the opposition, when they were in government, Comrade, the Honorable Annette Ferguson, you were a recipient of the scholarship too, that were assigned only to government ministers, their friends and cronies. Mr. Speaker, today, 29,000 people after 5 years, Guyanese, will benefit from the Gold Scholarship Program. And we are proud to say that those 29,000 people represent our friends, families, and favorites, sir. Mr. Speaker, the political entity called the PNC, the APNU, whatever you call them, they are at it again. They are coming to make fake promises. Sir, elections around the corner. No going to the 7th pawn. Going to 7th pawn, lighting candles, invoking Kabaka, and pray, prostrating before him will make you win any elections. You have to go to the people. You have to seek a mandate from the people. You have to work for the people, and you have to respect their mandate. And that is how you can go in government. We over here, we have been doing that from day one. We have been at the people every time we go to the people, and we will continue to go to the people. You cannot go to the people, because you know why? You did nothing for them. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Wow.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member, Mr. Ram Kisoon. Honorable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I ask that we adjourn the National Assembly to 10 a.m. tomorrow.
Honorable members, we adjourn to 10 a.m. tomorrow. Have a safe journey home.
We are a peaceful people. Struggle is with struggle, and we don't look for trouble. Just ask around. But when outside faces from foreign places talk about taking over, we ain't backing down. We ain't giving up no mountains. We ain't giving up no tree. We ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one karage, not a blade of grass. This land is all I know. We gonna make it somehow. We will bend like a bow and never break. Our fathers came here, and they lived and died here, and we ain't moving nowhere. Make no mistake, 'cause we ain't giving up no mountain. We ain't giving up no tree. We ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one grass, not a blade of grass. We love the open country of the Rupununi and the Essequibo. Take time on it, though we may criticize it. This is our home, we love it, and we need to keep it. We have that right, so we ain't giving up no mountain. We ain't giving up no tree. We ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one grass, not a blade of grass. So we ain't giving up no mountains, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one chorus, not a blade of grass.